Good morning, Fellowship. My name is Eugene Kim. I'm one of the elders here at Fellowship, and I'm excited to share with you something that I've been learning and have been convicted by recently in just my time in the Word. And so I want to share with you something from Psalm 19, verses 1 through 6. And while the whole psalm certainly can be instructive, I think verses 1 through 6 really speak to something that's presently I've been experiencing with being sequestered, or whatever the appropriate term is, in our home, and experiencing the coronavirus pandemic through news and through just social media and all the other ways that we get information. And so Psalm 19 verse 1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork." The message of God's glory, I think, is really poignantly represented here with David's psalm. And the picture that I have drawn is David looking up over the early morning sky, seeing the beautiful expanse, and just being taken aback by how good God is, and how vast he is, and how magnificent he is to have created the sky. And then slowly he sees the sun start to peek out over the horizon and sees the sunrise. And then he springs into an analogy in verses 5 and 6 that he attributes to God's glory. The first analogy he uses in verse 5, he says, it's like a bridegroom. He said the sun comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber. Now I remember stepping out in my wedding suit on the day that I got married. And I remembered thinking, this is the start of a new day, a new joyous fulfillment, a journey that is going to be exciting and fun. And I think God's glory offers that. The beauty of the God's glory is the sense of fulfillment and wonder and happiness that's mirrored on that day. And then second, the analogy he uses is in verse 6, which he says, like a strong man runs its course with joy. The picture I have here is an Olympic sprinter. My kids have been watching a show where they reference Jackie Joyner-Kersee. And think about these Olympic athletes running races where every aspect of their body is working in sync as they take each step and advance towards the finish line. Now this day and today, as you hear this, you may not be feeling that way. Your body may not be working in sync, and it actually may be working against you. But the message of hope of God's glory is that not only are we going to experience redemption, but in this present day and age, we can experience freedom of that in God's glory. And how do we experience that? We experience it in worship. If you look at the rest of the passage in verses 1 through 6, you hear reference to speech and words. All these things are meant to pour out of our hearts, as well as we experience God's handiwork. I read an article this week where a pastor friend, pastoring a church in China, talked about worship, and he says that worship is not a strategy for getting God to act. It is a response because we know God has acted and will continue to act. And so today, I encourage you to take away the same lessons that I am learning and I have learned, which is to step out and to look out at creation and to give God the glory, not only for the beautiful surroundings that we get to experience, the fresh air we get to breathe, but the freedom that we get to experience in Christ Jesus. Thanks, guys, for sharing this time with me, and hope you have a blessed day.